All this big stuff?
Okay, it's not on the agenda, but there's going to be proclamations between the pledge and the approval of minutes. Is that where you'd like them?
That's generally what we're doing. I have three.
Three proclamations.
So we have, obviously for Donnie Bell, we have a National Police Week, which I think is important, and we also have the Older Americans Month.
Okay.
So we're gonna do all three.
Yeah.
Okay.
Three props between pledge and approval of minutes. And then going on to ordinance 25, that'll be on its third reading then. Anyone get any more feedback about that?
I've heard a little bit, and everybody seems to think that's a good idea. I've heard about 3 more people.
I could only find one resident talk. I asked my mom, she said yeah. She said it's a good deal.
I talked to one who was kind of for it, then the more they thought about it, said, not until you have a real firm plan. And so I said, yeah. I've had more no than I have had yes.
I've only had
Every time I look at you, I'm gonna think of that. He's got a, did you look at his lapel? That's COVID. Look at that.
It's just the libertarian.
See his
back, but it does.
Doesn't it look like COVID?
Yeah.
State Route 8 at 271 northbound is now open.
Yep.
All right, so that'll be on its third reading. 35, that'll be me, Jan seconding. Ms. Chaddick, you want to talk about this?
I would love to brief you on this information. We have the final phase of our equipment replacement plan. This has been basically a 4-year project that's been going on, and this will get rid of the final pieces of cardio that were original installations. Some of them, I think on that spreadsheet, you'll see some of them are 1999, a couple are 2003, a couple of them we actually got 2006 and they were used. So I don't know what the real year is. I just know what year we allocated, or we received that allocation. In this particular case, I can't give you the timetable for when the new equipment will be here. So we want to go ahead forward with this, so we have the ability, the second that arrives, regardless of there being a gap in a council meeting or not, we then have the ability to auction off this equipment if anyone wants to spend a couple bucks on it, because it is at the end of its life.
All right.
So, and then this will put us prepared for the future. We'll be looking at 2026 through 2030 for the next series
The next round.
of replacements, and that would be obviously going first with treadmills from 2018's purchase of treadmills.
Okay.
We are way advanced thinking.
Good. That's what we like to hear. I'd like to go 1, 2, 3 on that. Just like you said, so they have the ability to get it done. Good. All right, the next two I think are similar, not similar, but
related to the same
each
project.
other. So whichever of you would like to speak on it, go ahead.
Speak about the appurtenances.
Yeah, the appurtenances.
Mark can cut it on here.
To the extent they exist, so 40,000 foot view, 36/2022 is a bond which retires the notes in anticipation for funding for the project, and that's itself is in anticipation of 37/2022, which is technically, well, not technically, but should be the last step in the statutory special assessment process. That's the ordinance that actually implements the special assessment on the property owners. Once it's passed, there is a 15-day period in which the property owners can essentially petition council if they think they have any hardship with the assessment repayment period and amounts, and then council could consider it. Assuming that since this petition was unanimous amongst the property owners, there won't be such a hardship application. There's a 30-day period once the ordinance is passed for everybody to come up with cash to pay the statutory assessment amount for which each owner is obligated. If they don't do that, then it's forwarded to the county auditor for processing.
Good question. Is the new medical office a property owner that voted off that didn't vote on this because they didn't exist back then?
I do not remember
I could
if that is or isn't.
It is true.
Okay.
So in the sale of the property, they should have
Didn't follow.
performed their due diligence.
But I mean, just thinking that could potentially be somebody that would object to it, but it wouldn't make any sense.
Correct.
Okay.
Especially since they're one of the main
This is
beneficiaries.
clue.
Right, it's right by the.
Well, and you know what, I know for a fact, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, that they do know because one of the issues were some variance requests at the BZA, which resulted from a portion of the land from that property
Okay.
that was donated for purpose of the right in, right out.
Oh, for the right.
And the sign, yeah.
Okay, but they would be.
So they were aware of it.
Okay.
Does this include all the way down to the old Golden Corral?
I
can't
don't
remember
know,
how
I'd
many
have
they
to
had
look at the exact parcel.
Because it'd be the same thing, we'd have to go after the property owner.
Yeah, that's all in the Exhibit A to the resolution of necessity that was passed in 2019.
Okay. Very good, John. 2019, find in the resolution so you can tell us which businesses are involved.
They already did.
Thank you.
All right, so 36, can we do 1, 2, 3 on that? Get this off our plate.
You can, yeah.
And then 37, Mark has asked us just to do first read on that.
First read?
Yes.
Okay.
So no second on that. And then another item we have to talk about is we had discussed canceling the next meeting because of Memorial Day. I asked the mayor, he said that there wasn't anything coming up that they needed us for. So would anyone like to make a motion? Dave, you?
If you want, I was talking. If you want to give it to David.
Yeah, Dave, if we would all like to have that, such a motion, go ahead and do it. Jeff, you can second it then. And then we have a motion to accept a donation of chicken from Tyson for the senior meal program. So Vinny and Jan are going to do that one. And then also there will be a executive session. So I'll do that one. And Jeff, can you second that for me? And anything else? Mayor?
Just real quick,
Yes,
going back, it is, the resolution of necessity was 61A-2019, in case you guys you're looking for it, John.
Do we have an agenda for the cemetery meeting?
I don't
No.
remember one. I don't remember one in the packet.
Do you need an agenda?
Doesn't Jeff even remember that?
Yeah, Jeff tells us.
Usually you.
So we do
I take
have,
something from the administrator and an agenda is created from that.
Do we need to do attendance? Like a,
So I just call it to order like any other meeting and all that.
Yeah, and they'll approve you'll need, the big thing is to approve the budget. That's presented, and that can be passed by a majority of the elected officials.
You're talking
present.
cemetery. Yeah, and then there was a request for an increase based on the fact of projects that are being done. The roads is
Did you
one of
vote on
them.
it?
We
Or
did,
you
and he
voted or
also
discussed?
included in his minutes things that had been done. You know, upgrading of various items already in the cemetery, which were long overdue.
Mark, does the mayor vote on the
It's
budget?
the legislative authority and the township board, but the mayor's traditionally, I think, presided over it.
Okay, so
Just
he
like
can
council.
make, so we have to make a motion?
So you guys vote, just like
Right.
they normally.
Yeah, we'll
Right.
vote.
okay.
But the mayor can run it.
It's usually,
Okay, so I'll make a
You
motion
usually
to
say more
accept the budget, and then you can second it.
already
here.
well,
Usually not.
It's a new one.
Well, that's true, that's
We have a new representative. She might be.
And then we will need to, we'll do the same people who are doing the adjournment. So
Okay.
Jan, can you adjourn the cemetery meeting, and Vinny second the adjournment of the cemetery meeting? They were doing an
Well,
agenda on the
It might be
side.
really loud, so,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I'll do
What?
that.
Where are we at since there is no agenda? And there's going to be a request, you said, Jan, there's going to be a request for an increase?
He sent it and he
So
said.
we
he's
all
making
got
copies.
today,
Did you read what John had asked him for? And he added it to an email and then Jeff's bringing 15 copies.
Yeah,
Okay.
we all
I
got,
thought,
we
I
all
thought,
got it
I
in
thought this
email
was,
today.
I thought this was what you were
Did you
asking.
print that today?
I may have gotten
Okay, but Mr. Snell is gonna pass out copies.
No, actually, I didn't, because my printer's low on ink, and I had time to make a copy of this.
It's better than John copied all this, so I figured I'd just go get it from John.
Cemetery board meeting. My retired.
No.
No.
So you're supposed to.
She were gonna.
Just don't tell me. You're the heck out of me.
All right, let's get on up. Thank you.
Get on up there.
Oh, okay. We can work on that.
That was actually.
Well, good evening. I'm going to call to order the Northfield Macedonia Cemetery Annual Meeting. Mr. Hoover, will you please call the roll?
Who is present from Northfield Center Township?
I'm the proxy for Northfield Center. Jeff Snell and Rich Rovell gave me the proxy. So I knew he wasn't able to attend.
Is there someone present from Northfield Village
No, we had council board seat.
and from Sagamore Hills Township?
John Zaccardelli. No, he's also.
Paul Schweikert.
And from the city of Macedonia?
Jessica Brandt, here.
Jessica,
We're
my
off to a good
daughter's
start
name is
today.
Jessica, and it just rolled off the tongue. I apologize. Jeff Garb is here.
Dave Finley here.
Jan Paul,
Vinnie Ventura here.
Nick Molnar.
in case you can't read this.
The floor is yours, sir.
Sure, my name is Jeff Snell. I'm the fiscal officer.
You coming to the microphone, sir?
Oh, I'm over
The
here.
podium?
Yeah,
Sorry.
thank you.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I'm Jeff Snell. I'm the fiscal officer of the Northfield Macedonia Cemetery, a cemetery who has been here since 1847. So like 175 years plus. Paul Schweikert is on our board. Jan Tully has been on our board a long time, but this year is off because there's a rotation. There's 4 communities and only 3 people serve at a time. Renell Nowak from Northfield Village took over the spot that Jesse Nihas had. So those 2 are on the board along with Rich Rovell, and we still send everything to Jan because we hope Jan will come back. So we operate about a 9-acre cemetery there at the corner of Valley View and Old 8 Road. And it's been in continuous operation, and only people who are residents of our 4 communities can be buried there. We have 1 full-time employee. His name is Dan Sacco. For lack of a better term, he's like our superintendent, but he's also the grave digger, if that makes sense. And I gave you a quick report here. So last year, you supported the cemetery with the 4 communities with $150,000. That supplements our budget. That's been pretty consistent. I gave you a breakout in there. That number in 16 went up as high as 157,187, that kind of community assessment, to 143,818 in 2018. We'll get to that in the back, a little bit of a breakout. What have we been doing? We finished the fence. There was a fence around the cemetery that was in bad condition. It's all been painted. It's really incredible. It looks really good. We also did the back wall of our building that was having a lot of problems with water getting in. We redid a bathroom in our office. We've installed some security cameras just for extra security. I do have some photographs that I'll pass around of kind of those projects that we have worked on. And I'll ask Mark to maybe help. You can take a quick look at pictures of the fence and all those things. We're asking for an assessment this year with a little bit of an increase that was passed by the Board of Trustees. It's 4% on $150,000. That would be $156,000 rather than $150,000. If you look in the materials, I gave you a copy of kind of our estimated budget for the coming year. I also gave you a breakdown. We break down those expenses based on tax duplicate. So these are the tax values of each of our communities as a whole, and that creates the percentage. And then we take the assessment and allocate it. You can see what Macedonia's portion would be, $70,657. Sagamore Hills, $50,095. Northfield Center, $24,719. And Northfield Village, $10,527. Historically, In 2021, you had 67,779 that you approved in dollars from the Macedonia side. So it's an increase of $2,878. For Sagamore Hills, it's 1947 increase. For Northfield Center, it's $757, and the Village, $418. That's the total of the 6,000 extra. What did we do last year? We did 13 cremation burials, 24 full burials. We sold 34 graves and did a series of foundations. I gave you a breakout of our notes on Hinkle. You're probably familiar with that from the city. So these are our financial notes for the last year, so you can see where we were last year from our audit and receipts and expenditures. We have approximately 280,000 in the bank. We traditionally have about a year to take us through. We are working on 3 different projects this year. One, the driveway, which has been an ongoing issue. The driveway is in terrible condition, has been for a while. I tried to apply for a number of grants through, there was pandemic money available for townships, so we did kind of a joint application through the Township of Northfield Center and Sagamore Hills to try to get dollars in there. That was unsuccessful. Those dollars actually went to Boston Heights, the ones that were allocated in our area. We also tried different avenues. We thought that we could get Ohio Public Works Commission money because it's technically a public road, but the state declared that it is, while it is a public road, our driveway, it is not the public road that they want to support with Ohio Public Works funding. So that application didn't go anywhere. We worked through the county engineer with regard to that. Ultimately, we've decided to hire, after talking to a number of pavers, a paver who's going to repatch all the areas in the cemetery. As part of that project, we're also going to create a couple of crossovers and run electric from our main building, our office building, all the way out to the main gate. We don't have any electricity out there. We installed some cameras so we can just kind of monitor, not that we've had problems, but they're all around our office, I guess I can say, but they're not out at the gate where people come in. And we just want to make sure that we're able to monitor that on a regular basis, although, knock on wood, we haven't had any problems. We also installed a new water line, a continuing problem that Jan Tully is quite aware of. I've been with the cemetery a couple years. Every year in the winter, we get 2 or 3 breaks in our water line and then pay people, we dig it up, we pay people to make a repair. It seems crazy. The problem is that the water line was not deep enough from the street, and we have areas where people can get water in the cemetery, and those lines are off our main line, meaning in the winter, we can't shut off our water line. And as a result, we would get these breaks throughout the winter when it heats and cold, and it just makes chaos. So we replaced the entire water line out to the street all the way into our building. It's at a correct depth, and we put 2 new lines out for water service for people to open the water line, but we can blow those out in the fall. So that has been completed. And then we talked about electricity, and we talked about the patching of the driveway. The patching of the driveway is going to be about $30,000 to $35,000. We try to run a really clean ship, and we contract out our services for grass cutting. We've done that traditionally because it's saved on having an extra employee, and that's Tucker Landscaping. They've done a real good job. Our highlight of the year obviously is coming up, Memorial Day. Welcome you up there for the day. You can take a tour. If you looked at the pictures, you can take a tour and look in our office. We traditionally put out a porta potty because we have the band there and all kinds of events. Now we have a real bathroom that someone can use, and it looks presentable, not like it was. So with that, I welcome any questions. I ask you to approve the budget. The trustees all approved the budget and recommended it, which would be 156 as the community support. That's a 4% increase from last year. And then just quick, so you have this, we gave you a historical analysis of where we've been on this sheet. And that tells you on the top where we've spent our money over the years, what the annual assessment is or has been, and it's gone over since 2015 from 143,818, and that was actually an 18 to 155,182. As you can see, it's kind of, we're still kind of in the range we've always tried to operate in. So I'm open to any questions you might have and welcome you to visit the cemetery at any time.
Did you mention how many grave sites we still have available?
We say we have about 600 grave sites. We have some people who sell those grave sites back to us, but you know, at any one time, we probably have that many. Most of them are in what are called Section 3, which is closest to Old Route 8, and those are graves that have to have a flat stone rather than an elevated stone. Most of those graves are there. We also have a number of cremation sites. One more thing I should mention. What does it cost to get buried in the Northfield Cemetery, right? We charge $743 to dig a grave. We charge $743, and that's all here. We charge $743 for a grave. So combine those. And we also have a 20% markup on the sale of a grave. And that 20% goes into an endowment to continue to support the cemetery. And so that brings the cost of a grave to $891.60. And then to open and close a grave is another $743. And if you're in the market for graves, that's a really good price. That's very, very reasonable. And if you want a cremation site to bury those, let me give you that number, I should have highlighted it here. Burial of ashes is $446, and that's how much it costs for a cremation burial area, with then a 20% on top of just that basic cost. So it's a great service for our community. It's a really nice cemetery. I have a lot of relatives there. I feel like I know a lot of people there because I've met them over the years. Take a tour, it's pretty interesting. If you want to come over, we'll happy to walk through it.
Are you still considering trying to expand the property?
Well, we did, and we had a deal for 5 acres at the corner of Old 8 and New 8, and that deal was $60,000, with 35 of it being a gift, in other words, a tax write-off, and 25,000 in real cash. As we were in that process, we hit the pandemic, and so the trustees decided not to move forward with that purchase. I can tell you that that land is now been sold for $195,000. So was it worth $25,000? I certainly think it was. And I wish we would have bought it, and it was in the paper and all that. It's a great question.
But what about, are you still considering expanding to other parts? I don't see in the budget, you know, putting away money for it. So if there was another offer that came up, would you just come to the board and we'd have to all come together and pay cash for it instead of holding in the budget?
Or decide what to do? Absolutely. And we're always interested in that. One of the issues with that site is, well, it's not directly connected to the cemetery, but it was pretty close. It was right down the road. And there was concern about, well, people drive along Route 8 and maybe there'd be salt on the graves or the stones, and that could create an issue. And then people might object to it. Well, one of the things with regard to a cemetery, I guess I view, you know, if you put it next to a house, sometimes people don't want a cemetery next to their house. That was a site that didn't have any houses around it. It was kind of isolated. So it's unfortunate that it's now been sold for so much money, given that it was $25,000 for 5 acres. But it is what it is. We'll continue to look at that. There was at least one property that's adjoining that the cemetery looked at and passed on, but it really predates, I think it even predates Jan, that there was a 5-acre site and a house right next to the cemetery. So, you know, I would hope to find a site. I'm not sure I can find 5 acres at $25,000 again, but I'll try. If you have any ideas, let us know. You know, we are going to run out of space. You can see what we're doing. Probably 40-ish, 50-ish. Some of those are new sales. Some of those, you know, they're graves people already own and they're doing a burial in. So we'd like to find more space if we could.
When you were reading one of these pages, you broke out the individual community contributions to the increase that you're asking for. Which page was that? I never.
Yeah, so the page that kind of outlines it, I didn't give you the actual breakout, but here's how you might look at that. I wrote those numbers down myself.
Okay.
But you can see, this is the breakdown for 22. It says proposed 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16. You can see the whole breakdown, what it's been. So that's based on the tax duplicate versus the percentage of each of us making up that duplicate. So it's all the tax of the Nordonia Hills community, and that's how we figure out the percentage. And then we multiply it by, quote, the assessment.
So is the Macedonia portion of this roughly just under $3,000?
The increase? Yes, I'll give you the exact number. The increase is $2,878.
Okay.
The Sagamore increase is $1,947. Northfield Center is $757 of increase, and the village is $418 for a total of $6,000.
And we've talked about the fact that depending on growth in the communities, those numbers could change. So, for example, if Northfield decides to do something more with the, I don't know if I call it a shopping center anymore, but, you know, if they decide to add more, it's reviewed on an annual basis.
Okay.
So you're not set with this. If you do increase, that brings in more revenue. You know, one of the questions you might want to address is people ask, well, they have the casino. How come they don't pay as much?
I thought it was based on population or land size?
It's based on the tax valuation.
Oh, okay.
And some of those pieces and parcels, including the Roxino or MGM or whatever it's called now, right?
Showing your age.
Yeah, I'm showing my age. The casino, and then even if you've TIF'd a property, that property would be exempt on the duplicate. So it doesn't count in that total. And Benny, you asked that question actually last year, and we chatted about how that worked. So the casino is not on here as a number because it's an exempt parcel, because it was TIF'd. And this is how we allocate it based on the Ohio Revised Code. That's what it provides, and we take it off the duplicate. That's how we do that.
What would happen, that TIF would eventually expire, right?
Yes, it would go on the duplicate.
And then they would, that value of contribution from the village would increase at that point, right?
That's correct.
In reference to a question that I can't remember right offhand, it was Mr. Garvis or Ms. Brandt, but it started with Mrs. Tully about if things change in the Northfield Village Plaza and we find the tax duplicate goes up, you would still have to wait till the following assessment and valuation of the following year. That doesn't change in midstream, correct?
Yeah, we take the valuation of last year and apply it to this budget, because we obviously don't know what the valuation will be. So we take last year's number and we allocate it just like all the taxing authorities would do, right? And so I take the total valuation of the 4 communities and then take it as a percentage. But there are certain properties that are exempt, and you know, to go to that question in particular, that anything that was TIF essentially is off the duplicate. I don't know if anything else comes off, but the conversation I had with the fiscal office is anything TIF.
But it is looked at annually. Because residents always say, what about annually? A review is done to see, is every community fulfilling their requirement based on the numbers brought in? And Jeff has done a heck of a job making sure we stay on top of it.
We try to watch the budget really carefully, and we're actually trying to kind of bring it up to a better standard. We had a kind of, the office is the old crypt, and it had a floor from the 20s, and the prior fiscal officer was trying to figure out what to do, and they were looking at the tiles and things. What we did is we just put some artificial, you know, the wood planking that's artificial, that's waterproof on top. We cleaned it up, we painted it, we changed the light fixtures. It's a very pleasing place to go, not like a cobweb place I wouldn't want to go into. And so we're just trying to bring up some of those standards so we can all be proud of it as a community place. We have a lot of memorials to our local community there, including our war memorial, and we have, the original settlers of Brandywine Falls who were buried at Brandywine Falls are now, their remains or whatever remained of their remains is there. So we have a number of community things. We have a lot of community members who still participate in the association that helps in the cemetery. So we're just trying to kind of bring it up to a better standard. One thing that I'd like to do in the fall, and I briefly talked to the trustees about this too, the gates, those 4 pillars, they're 100 years this year. They're going to be 100 years old. And they were actually a contribution from a local resident and are modeled after gates at Arlington. It was a $3,000 contribution 100 years ago that built them, just the post. Yeah. And so we'd like to memorialize that and have a little event to kind of showcase what that is. I cannot find those gates at Arlington. If anybody has a plug of how to figure out where they were at Arlington, we can't see that. But that's the story that it was, and we've looked at that. We've also digitized all our records, so you can go online, you can see all the deeds going all the way back. You can't sell your deed to somebody else if you buy a property and you buy a lot. You can't sell it to somebody else. You can transfer it to a family member that lives here, but you couldn't sell it. You have to sell it back to the cemetery and you get back whatever you paid for it or your heirs paid for it. And then we in turn sell it at the new price to a new buyer. You can only transfer it to a family member. So we're pretty tight controlled. It's really nice to have a local place. And it's a beautiful place.
So you had said the driveway was going to be 35,000?
30 to 35,000. We're kind of negotiating that. We went, the water line went through before the driveway, and we pulled up some ruts, and we kind of roughed up one side of the road in a piece. So I have to get him to look at that, but that's about what we think it'll be.
But you've only got 25?
I understand that.
So the question is, are we not doing it till later, or we're definitely doing it this year?
Sooner, but the trustees authorized me to kind of make a few adjustments there because of what happened with the water line. When we did the water line, we had to cut along the side of the driveway in a couple of sections. So those sections are going to need some repair. I don't know what those numbers are yet because I just finished the water line and I got to get the asphalt guy to do that. As we did it, the board agreed that we would run a new electric line out to the street. It's about $4,500 worth of electric line, the actual the line itself. And we're going to trench that in. And we put a couple of crossovers in. So that's where we're seeing a little bit more in numbers. Are we financially okay doing it? We are.
Okay.
And it makes sense to do it before we put the asphalt down. So we don't have to rip it up in the future. It's a pretty narrow driveway too. It's only about 9 to 10 feet at any one point.
Yeah.
So we're going to be patching sections
Okay.
mostly, but it should come out nice.
Anything else?
So we need someone to make a motion to approve the assessment of 156.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Welcome you there. If you want to take a tour, look me up. Happy to give you a tour.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks for coming.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
folks.
Thought I was supposed to
It was a
second that.
lively conversation. Hello and welcome to the May 12th council meeting. It is 7:30 PM. Will Mr. Hoover please call the roll?
Ms. Brandt,
Here?
Mr. Finley,
Here.
Mr. Garvis,
Here.
Ms. Tully, Mr. Ventura.
Here,
Now I ask American Legion Chaplain Tom O'Brien to lead us in the invocation and the pledge.
With bowed heads, let us pray. Almighty God, Father of all mankind and Judge over nations, we pray thee to guide our work in this meeting. We pray for those who serve the people and guard the public welfare, those civil servants who work at City Hall and throughout our community, that by thy blessing they may be enabled to discharge their duties honestly and well. We pray for our leaders, that by thy help they may provide the leadership our community has empowered them with. And finally, O God of mercy, we ask thy blessing and comfort for our neighbors who are suffering mental or physical disability. Cheer them and bring them thy blessing of health and happiness. Amen. And now, please face the flag and join me in our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien.
Okay, now we're filling. Is that?
Okay, next up on the agenda will be 3 proclamations, and I will start with the first one, which is Older Americans Month. It reads, whereas the city of Macedonia includes a growing number of older Americans who contribute their strength, wisdom, and experience to our community. And whereas communities benefit when people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds are welcome, included, and supported. And whereas the city of Macedonia recognizes our need to create a community that provides the services and supports older Americans' need to thrive and live independently for as long as possible. And whereas the city of Macedonia can work to build an even better community for older residents by planning programs that encourage independence, ensuring activities are responsive to individual needs and preferences, increasing access to services that support gaining in place. Now therefore, I, Nicholas Molnar, Mayor of the City of Macedonia, Ohio, do hereby proclaim May 2022 to be Older Americans Month. The City of Macedonia urges every resident to recognize the contributions of our older citizens, help to create an inclusive society, and join efforts to support older Americans' choices about how they age in their communities. Our second proclamation is for National Police Week, and it reads, whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 11th through the 17th as National Police Week. The City of Macedonia will observe this week and direct the flag to be flown at half-staff on May 13th. And whereas the members of law enforcement agency of the City of Macedonia play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the City of Macedonia and are extremely grateful for their efforts. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and the members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. Now, therefore, I, Nicholas Molnar, Mayor of the City of Macedonia, Ohio, call upon our citizens of the City of Macedonia to observe May 13th, 2022 as Police Officers Memorial Day in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice in their service to their community or have become disabled in the performance of their duty. And let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. Chief, thank you for all that your team does and for what you do for us as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last one, I think some of you are here for. I'll come up front. We'll get off that easy, sir. Maybe I should run for So the last proclamation is a special one. Obviously, a lot of you are here for it, so I'll read through this one as well. And it reads, whereas today we honor Donnie Bell in his dedicated service to public service with the fire department, who joined as a part-time firefighter EMT in 1999, which afforded him the opportunity to work side by side with his oldest son, Brian, who at the time was full-time with the fire department. And whereas Donnie obtained his fire safety inspector certification in the state of Ohio and started helping the Fire Prevention Bureau in 2012. And helping he did as he became the first full-time fire inspector in the city's history in 2006. And whereas during these years he has made a significant difference with his contributions, his good working relationships with others, his assistance in numerous departments, and his willingness to always help others for the betterment of his community. And whereas Donnie moved to Macedonia from Tennessee in the late 50s with his parents, graduated from Nardonia High School in 1965, married Sandra in 1968, worked for Swagelok in the electroplating plant as an entry-level production worker in August of 1965, retired from Swagelok in 1997 as plant manager, Then began another career in 1998 when he became a part-time school bus driver for the Macedonia Middle City School District. And whereas we extend Donnie and his family our best wishes for continued success, may he enjoy a long, healthy retirement and great success in future endeavors. Now therefore, I, Nick Molnar, Mayor of the City of Macedonia, Ohio, have hereunto set my hand this 12th day of May, in the year of our Lord, 2022, do hereby proclaim this day as Donnie Bell Day. I'll turn it over to the chief, but not before saying a few things about it. I can tell you that he was a stickler for what he did, and in his position, he wanted that. When it comes to the safety of what he did, he was really good at it, and he did not compromise with anyone or anything. So I thank you for that, and I hope that the future generations learn from what you have taught them. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Hey, Dad. This is my last review. Yes. I've been dreading this day for a long time. I think you worked at Metrics for years before you worked. But I will tell you, and I say this when every single one of our individuals retires, behind every firefighter, police officer, dispatcher, is a group of people, whether it's family, friends, neighbors, that support us. And that's why we're able to do what we do. Even in fire prevention, right? You think, oh, it's no big deal. Ask his family. Because in our department, fire prevention also does all the fire investigation. So you get a phone call 3 o'clock in the morning, we'd all come home and start cleaning up. You would be there with a shovel, digging through the debris, and be able to tell us what caused the fire, why, to try to prevent it. So kudos to you on that. John, as the mayor said, was definitely a stickler for the rules. All these gentlemen that are here, some in uniform, some out, this council hears all the time how we save someone's life. What we don't get with fire prevention, you never receive those letters. Why? Because the codes he went out to enforce and made businesses follow saved lives, but we just don't know which ones. Because it's his job, we have less fires, and we are all safer as a community. So I applaud you for that. There's a lot of funny stories about that. Some will always be secret. Some will always be secret. He's right. But I'm sure you remember this 3 years ago. His city vehicle was falling apart. And I said, God, I want you to think about this. I decided, your Explorer's not big enough, and putting in a big vehicle in out parking lots all day. I said, I think I'm gonna buy you a minivan. Oh, what? Oh, I stormed off. We'll talk about it. 3 days later, the meeting was, well, that makes sense. Minivan comes in, gets decals, a minivan with a light bar, right? Doc's driving around town. Remember what happened when you went to Lakeview Elementary? Yep. He parks his car, there's kids outside, some little guy says, Mister, my mommy drives one just like this. That's a true story. I just want to point out, when I started, I didn't need glasses. This is an example of the job Don did when he was in fire prevention bureau. If you talk to anybody from his life, it's the way he did any job ever had. He was all in all the time. Don was that guy that showed up at 3 in the morning when he didn't have to. He was the one when we had a fundraiser. He was here early and stayed late. Okay, very valued member of our department and our association. This is a letter dated November 27, 2015 from Vista Springs, which is now American House at 8400 South Bedford Road. Nice long letter about them opening up. Last paragraph. City Fire Inspector Don Bell might be the most experienced, professional, and thorough inspector I have ever had the pleasure to meet. His help and guidance through the building process made our state fire marshal approval a seamless one because he's more strict. our building, its community members, and the city is a safer place because of his diligence and effort. Don, congratulations. Thank you. Look forward to stopping by. Probably should have coffee here, but we'll get you juice over At this time, I'd like to bring up Assistant Chief Paul Smolinski, who has a little package.
Don, first of all, I just want to say thank you. Thank you from all of us, from these people here, for being a mentor, somebody that cares about your job as much as you did. It's very obvious. And on behalf of us, we'd like to present you with your retirement package. And your ID. Retired.
Paramedic Dave Morris representing the Macedonia Firefighters Association.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody, thank the fire department for letting me represent the association. It's like everybody said, Donnie gives 110% to everything he does. Whether it was being our responsible banker for the last 23 years at either a golf outing or casino night or pancake breakfast, numerous other things over the last 23 years that you've done for us as an association. Everything that he did in fire prevention, he would tell us was because of us. Because he wants us to be safe if we have to go into that building. And from there down was who he protected, and that always hit right here with all of us. We started this job together, started EMT school together, with the smart one that got out. And I only got 15 years left. So. But we would like to, as the Macedonia Firefighters Association, we would like to present you with the Retirement Act on the wall for you.
It's kind of like the key to the city.
That's the master key. Not get in any door as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Union President Dave Aberth. This is the last one. Dave was in the back because right before this meeting, I think we had like 7 calls. Literally just got back.
You're still welcome to the union meetings where you can continue to impart your infinite wisdom on how things should be run. Absolutely.
Bring your axe.
Bring your axe. Donnie, we obviously would invite you, your family, friends, and anybody and everybody here, including you, to join us. I mean, not like that. You probably want to after your, okay. To the Willow, where the union has some edible goodies for you, some wings and things and what have you. So we'd love to see you there.
Okay.
You can do a quick inspection and tell them how it's supposed to be.
Okay.
Thank you for everything, Don.
Thank you. One more thing I want to do, I want to recognize the fire department retirees that are here tonight. Diane Moore, right here, spent 10 or 12 years, 15 years as our administrative assistant, and then what made us run. And also safety officer Ed Barak, 40 years, and Inspector Doug Brazovich, 21, 26 years, so, and we will give city council back there and apologize for hijacking.
Can we clap for them?
Yes.
Hey, Chief, don't you let him speak?
Would you let Don speak?
I think that's.
They accidentally let him.
I'm not gonna rush him at the door.
He didn't do what he said he was going to do.
Oy vey.
Yeah, what is his name? Yeah, okay, I know who you're talking about. Tall guy. You did a really good job. You did this.
I've learned to breathe. Take a second.
No, there won't be. We'll be parking across the street in the dog lot.
Yeah, older adults, older Americans.
I may take up a corner spot over the speed limit.
It's the month. I was in the mayor to be real.
Yeah, you said it right. Sounded it.
Mac and cheese wedges.
You're making stuff up, Joe.
I think you're going to be able to get barbecue wings tonight the way we're talking.
I'll call you Jeffy 3 phones.
Well, the fire service you always do.
Okay, next up on the agenda is the approval of minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting, the public hearing from Thursday, April 28th, 2022, and also the regular council meeting from Thursday, April 28th, 2022.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, next up is public comments. We have one person signed in today. We ask that you come to the podium, give your name and address, and you do have a 5-minute time limit. So Mr. Merrick, you are the only one today. Chief, will you keep the time, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Lawrence Merrick, 467 Mapleview Road in Macedonia. I stopped in today to let you guys know the pipe work was done at the corner of Mapleview and Indian Run. The company that put it in did a real nice job putting the stuff in, re-landscaped and planted seed, fixed the road, tarred the edges and everything, so it looks pretty good. If you recall, I think I sent you a picture, your office, a picture of the first pipe that went in. And I know we had discussions prior to that of the flow of water going out of these pipes. I asked the gentleman that was there, you know, one of those guys that comes late, dressed nice and clean, leaves early, said that that the stuff going in was the way it was designed to go in. He said the work needed to be done on the outlet side of the pipes. It needed to be dug out more because he couldn't put that pipe any lower than the original pipe was. I believe I sent you a picture of the water flow of the water not going through that pipe, the first one they put in. So they were an inch or two bigger. He said it may help a little bit, but it's not really going to solve your issue here on the corner because work needs to be done on the other side and then with the amount of water that goes through that. So more work needs to be done on there. I've been asking for over 40 years, like I mentioned earlier, for work to be done there and to limit the flow of water off of North Bedford Road going through my backyard. You gave me a topographical map with the lines on it and everything. We used to study these back in middle school so I can read the line. You've got your arrows drawing, and it's interesting how everything diverts east from that flow of water where that gentleman filled in his property and the water not flowing down the topographical line where it should be going. So there's a
issue there. That's private property, but he filled in his property over there. I had asked earlier that all of this water to the west of North Bedford Road be kept on the west side of North Bedford Road. That ditch needs to be cleaned out. I talked to an older resident over there. He said, yeah, the water used to flow down that way, but it doesn't anymore because it needs to be cleaned out. Some of the pipes under the driveways have been set up too high. You've done some work already on North Bedford Road where you've had to replace 1 or 2 pipes I saw you the other day. You did all that sewer work, the retention pond behind the church and all that to help all those new houses on that end of town over there. You did the Ledge Road work, the storm sewer on Ledge, the hill. We did the ditches, put all the stone work in to help all those people along the road, going up Ledge Road, up the hill. You did all that work on Broad Ledge to rehab their storm sewers over there. You had your crew putting in topsoil, grass seed, everything else to help the water flow so their yards don't get washed out into the road. You had your crews down there doing that. And again, the 1 or 2 pipes you already placed recently on North Bedford Road. I'm asking that this water that's on the west side of North Bedford Road stay on the west side of North Bedford Road. This guy filled in his property years ago, which diverted the water going south into my yard instead of going east towards the creek. Okay, so I guess I'm going to have to take care of the water before it enters my yard by digging it out again so the water flows through the way it's supposed to go, that swale, that small swale in the backyard. It's all filled in with silt already because of the years of water coming through there on that. I had asked that you maybe send a letter to one of my neighbors to have him clean out the 20-foot section of the swale in his backyard so the water flows. I still got 3 feet of water back there from all the water that flows through my backyard. I'm asking for more help again, keeping the water where it's supposed to be, west side water, I'll keep it on the west side. This water over here, since it's on private property, I guess I'll have to take care of it. And I'll do what I have to do to divert the water out of my yard, at my expense, I guess, even though things have been done around the neighborhood for other people. That's all I have to say right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Correspondence from the clerk.
Yes, one letter that the fire department received and was forwarded to me. It's Chief, I am a retired firefighter EMT with the Hamilton, New Jersey Fire Department, a suburb of Trenton, New Jersey. On Saturday, March 19th, 2022 at approximately 1:15 p.m., I was on vacation with my wife in Ohio and stopped at Panera on Route 8 in Macedonia. Prior to arrival, I started having pain in my neck and upper chest. My wife called 911 and paramedics from the Macedonia Fire Department responded. They immediately took action, brought my pain level down from an 8 to a 3, and based on my EKG and diagnosis from an ER doctor, transported me to Ahuja Medical Center in Beechwood where the ER staff was waiting for me. I had a massive heart blockage that would have ended my life if not for the speedy treatment I received. There's no doubt in my mind that the experience and speed of your 2 paramedics saved my life. I was now able to get their names, and while I did thank them, I want you as their chief and them to know how much I, my wife, and family appreciate what they did for me. Please convey this letter to them. You have an experienced and well-trained staff in your department. Congratulations and thank you, Chief. It's from Linwood Emmons, 29 Darkleaf Drive in Hamilton, New Jersey. And the fire medics that responded were Matt Maloney and John Schwab. That's it.
Thank you. All right, pending new legislation, starting with ordinance number 25.
Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance 25, 2022 for its third reading by title only.
Second.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a real estate purchase agreement for the real property known as permanent parcel number 33-11015 for the amount of $625,000 and appropriating that amount.
So we've spent a lot of time over the past 3 council meetings discussing this and what the intentions were. This is the property on Park Avenue, between Park Avenue and Valley View Road. The Future Growth Committee back in 2016 had proposed this property to be a big piece of the bigger picture of what they had foresaw for the future. So Today is the last read for that, and I want to be very clear that I've had the conversations with many people in the community that the dollars being used for this, if approved, are coming from the sale of the Bedford anodizing property. It's not coming from taxpayer contributed dollars. So we're making sure that we are doing that to be very careful to not disrupt the flow of dollars that we get from our taxpayers and putting them to good use. But the reality of it is, what I hear more than anything from people in the community is that they want different options for restaurants. They want things that are not the corporate type entities to be in there. That's the opportunity to do that. By having this ability to purchase this property, it starts to position us in the future for that ability. We can have more control over it, and the biggest piece is we can have incentives. So we can incentivize it to get those types of businesses that you all are asking me for. So that's the intention of it moving forward. I've been very clear that this may not be something that happens in the immediate future, but this is something over time because there's other things proposed in there with the area of land that they have proposed to purchase other properties. The intent will probably be to get an investor to come in to look at it. Again, this is where the incentives would come into it, to where the city could start to move us towards having that project come into fruition. Any further discussion?
I just want to mention that over the course of the past, I don't know, 8 or 10 years, I've been involved in a number of discussions on social media where people have said, why did the city allow this? Why did the city not do this? And I think this is a perfect example of an opportunity where the city can have some influence in something like this, right? We all know, everybody up here knows, we're all blamed for what business gets put in a given property, but we have no say in that. And I think this is going to give us that opportunity. And I'm kind of excited by the opportunity, but I also realize at the same time, we might not see this happen for a number of years.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, what is your pleasure?
I'd like to offer ordinance, I would like to move to adopt ordinance 25-2022 and pass and post the same according to law.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Brandt?
Yes.
Mr. Finley?
No.
Mr. Garvis?
Yes.
Ms. Tully?
I was very torn on this one, and I'm going to give my comments before my vote. I've talked to numerous people who are very much on both sides of this. One is, can we have a plan of what's going to happen with, because the 2016 included property that is not in this purchase. So could we have a plan by the end of 2023, exactly what we're looking to do? Second of all, one of them brought up, look at Glen Willow. They didn't create more stores, they didn't create, big, another Walmart, another, Walgreens or a CVS, but took existing property and kept it, and it's in use for businesses, but it's used within property from the old Austin powder company. Houses look the same. And because we're only taking the north part, we'll still have houses on the south part that we want to make sure that we don't inundate it with things that are going to cause disruption. The other thing they bring up is the amount of traffic we already have. To make sure the plan takes care of the traffic. If we buy it now, we own the maintenance. So you got to be aware of the fact that any of the grass cutting or drainage work, that's the city. And then the other question is, if any other properties come up on the fringe of this, are we going to buy them? Because there is a piece of property that just went up for sale and was purchased by another development company on 82. And it's a house right now. It's actually a very nice house. But my concern is, are we going to have other people buying that out so that we have to purchase that so we can do the ultimate plan? So I'd really like to see, and I vote yes, if we can get some kind of plan before the end of next year. And if we don't have a way to go forward and we're going to resell it, we got to do it quickly because the market's going to take a nosedive. So what we pay today of over $500,000, we may not recoup that amount of money. So my vote is yes.
Mr. Ventura?
Some of those issues that Mrs. Tully's mentioned are things to be concerned about. Some of them are, you're going to have either way no matter what happens to that property, as in, for example, traffic. No matter who buys that property, what it's used for, you're still going to have the same traffic issues that we will have to deal with one way or the other. I think it's a good investment, it's a plan, and better us running that plan than somebody else. So my vote is yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 25 carries. Resolution number 35.
I'd like to make a motion to present resolution number 35, 2022 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution authorizing the disposition of certain municipal property by the Parks and Recreation Department of the City of Macedonia in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, Section 721.15.
Director Chaddick?
Thank you, Mayor. This will be kind of the final phase for us in the release of some old equipment. These are 6 pieces of equipment that are anywhere from 16 to 20 years old. One of the items at least has been there since the building opened. And what this gives us the opportunity for is to move forward with releasing these pieces of equipment for auction once we get the new pieces in. Unfortunately, with the way shipping is these days, the new pieces are going to take anywhere from 8 to 16 weeks to get. So this just has us prepared for when those arrive so we can quickly move those out of the building. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, what is your pleasure?
I move that we adopt resolution number 35, 2022 and post the same according to law.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 35 carries. Ordinance number 36.
I'd like to offer ordinance 36, 2022 for its first, second, and third reading by that very long title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An emergency ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum aggregate principal amount of $580,000 to retire outstanding bond anticipation notes of the city issued to pay the property owner's portion of the costs in anticipation of the levy and collection of special assessments related to the construction of a right-in, right-out access road off of State Route 8 to provide ingress and egress to the crossing/Golden Link Shopping Center, together with all necessary appurtenances and related improvements thereto, and I've been presented with the fully executed fiscal officer certificate.
Director Goodetti?
So this is related to the upcoming ordinance 37, 2022. This effectively closes the notes in anticipation out that were issued to fund the project and continues to fund the project until such time that it's paid off through the statutory assessment implemented through the ordinance 37, 2022.
And who's paying for this, just to be clear?
The property owners
The city is not paying.
that were benefited by the improvement.
Yeah, the city is not paying for this, and I want to,
2% we are paying.
well,
98% of the project.
we're paying for 2%, but the majority of the cost is being borne by the affected, well, not the affected, the benefited parties, I would say. And I also want to thank Director Goodetti, because you have put a lot of work into this, and I can say over the time that we've been working on this, which is how many years now?
Many.
Many. I know you've invested quite a bit into it, and it's your job, but you did it very well. Thank you.
Happy to help. Thank you.
I'd also like to thank the owner of Chick-fil-A, Dan, who's the spearhead man. He worked side by side with our law department to get the other property owners to agree to this. And I don't think if he'd stepped in, I'm not sure we'd be sitting here. And if you haven't used it yet, it's an absolutely wonderful way to get into the commons over there. Just turn left on 8 and you get in, you beat all the other traffic.
It's really easy to get out too. I've never had a problem making a right out of there. Because the way that the traffic signals work, it's very easy.
What's your pleasure?
I would like to move to adopt ordinance 36, 2022 and post the same according to law.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance 36 carries. Ordinance number 37.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 37, 2022 for its first reading by title only, please.
An emergency ordinance levying special assessments for the construction, installation, and improvement of a certain right-in, right-out access drive into and out of the crossing/Golden Link Shopping Center within the city of Macedonia, altogether with the necessary appurtenances thereto.
Director Goodetti, anything to add to that?
No, just that this includes the signage in between now and passage. What I plan on doing is just as a courtesy, sending out notice to the various property owners
that council's considering this and that we have the final cost put together.
Thank you. Any other motions or legislative actions?
Yes, I have a motion. I'd like to make a motion to accept the donation of 30 cases of fully cooked golden crispy chicken breast fillets valued at $1,114.18 by Tyson Foods to be used for the city's senior program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any other motions?
I'd like to make a motion to cancel the May 26, 2022 city council meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any other motions or legislative actions? Hearing none, I'll go into the mayor's report. I'll start off today. I got some good news from our city engineer who couldn't make it tonight, but we did get a grant for Golden Link, which covered 50% of the cost of paving that road, which amounts to about $144,000. So great work from our engineering department to get that done again and getting grants to save the taxpayers' dollars to do the things that we need to get done. And that's also part of the JED, the Joint Economic District, that we share with Northfield Center. So it's a nice add to get that cleaned up, and that road has been deteriorating, so I think that'll be a welcome thing. I always like to remind periodically about our e-commerce safety zone right out here in front of City Hall. There are 2 signs that say it's for e-commerce, so if you're buying something through Facebook or any online avenue, you can go there and have a sense of somewhat of safety because it's here at City Hall where there's a lot of action with police coming in and out. The police keep an eye on it through the camera, but it's a nice place if you want to make that exchange to do that. I put a post out this week. We were shorthanded on plastic grocery bags. And within one day, we were inundated with bags, which we still need. But I want to thank everyone who brought those because we use those bags for our senior meal delivery. And also sometimes when the seniors don't finish their meal at our luncheons, they take the bags and put their food in there. So we now have bags, and I'm not going to tell anyone to stop because we can never run out of those. It's something we go through an unbelievable amount of. So thank you for everyone that brought those plastic grocery bags. And if you want to bring more bags, we have a box right outside of the entrance to City Hall here. That entrance is open 24/7. So if you have some bags you'd like to donate to the cause, we definitely appreciate that. I also want to point out and congratulate a lot of the students from Nordonia High School yesterday were recognized for academic achievements. And I had the pleasure of going there. Fortunately, my daughter was one of them, and Mr. Garvis's daughter was one of them. But it's amazing to see how many of our students do so well in school and get the grades to support that. Also, Mr. Chaddock's son was one of those students as well. So I want to congratulate all of them. I think it was amazing, and I cannot believe, and Nola here, our junior city council person, and Taylor, I'm sure you were too, but I wasn't there for the juniors and seniors, were you? I'm sure. So we have a lot of people even in the room with children or people that were involved, and I want to congratulate you all for that because I think that's amazing. Academics is a really important thing for our youth and something that you should place a high emphasis and value on. And again, I want to congratulate all of them for that. Now on a little bit of a somber note, I want to send the condolences from the city staff to the Milani family. The former mayor of Northfield Village, Vic Milani, had passed away last week, and the services were on Wednesday. And I want to just show our gratitude for the things that he did for the Nordonia community and offer our condolences to the family. And last but not least, please don't drive distracted. Put the cell phones down and drive the car. Okay, moving right into committee reports.
I don't have anything new to say about Parks and Rec Commission. Our next meeting will be Wednesday of next week at 6 p.m. in the activity room on the first floor. And it's a public meeting. Anyone's welcome to attend. And we do have public comments the same way that council meetings do. And that's all.
I don't think I need to give a cemetery report. We had one for 20 minutes, but if you're ever, I would highly encourage what Mr. Snell said. If you've never been into the cemetery, come in. There's a lot of history in there. And if you're not feeling good about doing it, then come to Memorial Day Parade because it ends at the cemetery.
Thank you. All right, we'll move into department reports. Director Wilson is in the infancy of his career here with us. I did send him and our service supervisor to a stormwater conference for 3 days. I've attended it in the past. it's a wildly beneficial thing to learn about different ways of dealing with stormwater problems. And it's no secret with Mr. Merrick and his comments this evening that we do have our fair share of them in our community. So anything we could do to learn more about that and better ways to correct it, we're going to take those opportunities. Mr. Gelati also couldn't make it for reasons I am not at liberty to say today, but it is legitimate, and I want to read his report, which basically says the replacement of parking lot for Windmill Golf Center facility has begun today, May 12th. Resurfacing of Highland Road between Valley View and Chamberlain Road is scheduled to begin the week of May 23rd. All affected parties have been notified and traffic delays are expected. I cannot be more clear about that. There will be severe traffic delays in that area. We already have them, but if you can avoid that area, I would strongly suggest you do that. It's going to be severe delays. So
And they're putting detour signs to take them to Chamberlain to 82.
I don't know where the detours are, but we do have signs up letting people know that we are going to have that construction. We made sure that we have the big honking glowing signs to make sure everyone was very aware. We put it out on social media. We have it on our website. So we're doing everything we can to communicate that in as many places as possible. So please avoid that area beginning the week of May 23rd if you can.
Just to be clear, the area that is being spoken of is the is Highland Road between Valley View and the Twinsburg line.
Yes.
So if you haven't gone that way and seen the signs, you won't be caught off guard when you do. So it's Valley View to the Twinsburg line.
Yes. And that concludes the engineer's report. Director Chaddock.
Thank you, Mayor. It's wonderful to be the first in-person update today. I'm glad I could lead the way for us. First, I want to start by just mentioning our crews that are out in service and out in parks right now, because as we've all seen, the last 4 weeks have been nothing but rain here. And those crews have spent all week outside trying to catch up on all the mowing that's going on throughout the city. We got obviously the ball fields that have been going and all the other extra areas. So thanks to them, they've been putting in a lot of hours this week. It's been warm out for once, and the guys are getting a lot of things accomplished for us. Community garage sale will be this weekend. It'll be May 14th, 15th, and then Family Fishing Day will be May 21st. Then, of course, our big event coming up, the biggest event we run each year, will be Summerfest, which will be going on June 10th and 11th. So I just wanted to announce those events. And then the other part I wanted to cover with you guys, the last meeting we talked about this national lifeguard shortage that is going on. It is just picking up steam more and more every single week. There's a lot of outdoor pools, not only in Ohio, but also in other areas that are in grave danger of not opening this year, or cities are only opening up half the pools that they have. So this is a really legitimate issue that's been going on. And I'm really excited to say that we've been trying to think about some outside the box ideas within our city. And we have now started a partnership with our school district. So we will be offering our lifeguard training class that high school students from Nordonia High School can take now for PE credit. So we've been able to partner with the school district, Amy Cormel, who is the head of the PE department, working along with John Doyle and getting this all fixed up for us. For the 22-23 school year, it will be added as a flex credit. And then for the 23-24 school year and on, it will be an elective that the kids can take. So for next year, they will have the ability to take the lifeguard training class, which is going to take them through about 26 hours. Then to fulfill the hours credit, we can actually get them hired on to our staff, and they can work X number of additional hours to fulfill the rest of a PE credit and get paid for the hours. So they'll have a kind of a three-layer opportunity here: get school credit, get a certification and a job out of it, and that's really going forward in a completely different direction that we've never done before. This is definitely a new age to incorporate this into the school with PE credit being accounted for. So thanks to the school district for being so open to it. Principal Wright and Amy Cormel were both on board right away. It takes people to be willing to think outside the box and work together from different organizations to figure out how can we benefit the kids while also serving a community simultaneously. So special thanks to everybody involved. And that concludes my report.
That's amazing stuff. Thank you. And that's a testament to the staff here at Macedonia and the things they do to think outside the box, because the world we're living in right now is complicated to be described in the easiest way I can think of, but that's the ways that we're going to find to be the best at what we're doing. So thank you very much for that. Director Veras.
Thank you, Mayor. To piggyback off of that half-hour report, I did see.
I had more time.
I did, yeah, I know. I did see a news story that there's a school district, I think it's in Ohio, that's given credit for cutting senior lawns. So I might want to pass that along as an option too, as part of their gym class. And then my report was contained in the title of ordinance number 36/2022. Just want to remind residents that the refund program deadline is July 15th. It's approaching quickly. And unless your RETA return is extended, it would be extended till that date of the RETA extension. And in my report.
Thank you. And Chief Ripley would normally be next, and he had to run out here, and that's never a good sign. So I hope to God and I pray that everything's okay with wherever he's headed. Chief Golden.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank Donnie Bell for his service. He's been here a good while, and he's a really good guy. So thank you, Don, and I wish him a long, happy retirement. And the only thing I have is we're going to have a leads audit here coming up, so we're preparing for that. And we usually do pretty well on that. So the lieutenant and Tracy will be working on that over the next couple weeks. That's all I have.
Thank you. Director Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. So the healthcare committee, met for the 4th time today, and I can say that we're making great progress toward the planning and development of this year's outdoor health fair. Also, as I had mentioned in our last council meeting, that HR is busy trying to get our annual trainings done, and one of those trainings is a drug-free workplace training, both supervisor and employee. And I was able to apply and be awarded a $5,000 grant from the BWC, and that's going to more than pay for our training this year. But the good part of this is we were able to find an organization that will do live webinar, but they're going to do it in a fashion that is going to benefit our police, fire, and dispatch. And what I mean by that is they're offering flexible times. They're going to do early morning, late afternoon, evenings, and Saturdays. And so it'll meet the requirement of having the hour supervisor for those leading and the hour employee. But our folks who have scheduling challenges will have the opportunity to do it at times that's going to better suit them. I'll begin these trainings in early August because we're required to have them done by the end of September, and I'll let everybody know the available days and times in mid-July. This concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Director Collins.
Thank you, Mayor. Major projects include the completion of the replacement of the battery backups for the dispatch consoles, some major system updates for the domain server for the PD as well, some network upgrades. The new website has gone into development, so that's good headroom there, as well as tonight after the meeting, I plan on going over to the rec center and cutting them over to the new 10 gateway. End of report. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you. That will also, for all you that have been affected by it, that will fix the phone problem and the internet problem there, because we've had that ongoing, and I know Director Collins has worked very hard and diligently with the internet provider to get that cleaned up. So I'm sure Director Chaddock will be very happy when you can actually call him on the phone and hear him. Director Goodetti.
I have no report, sir.
Any unfinished business? Any new business?
I'd like to make a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G2, to consider the purchase of property for public purposes.
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Brandt?
Yes.
Mr. Finley?
Yes.
Mr. Garvis?
Yes.
Ms. Tully?
Yes.
Mr. Ventura?
Yes.
right, we will go into executive session and likely come out of there and adjourn the meeting. So if you'd like to hang on, go for it.